give me a kind of a detailed description of Fraser Canyon. Why do we want to be there? What is cool about it? And why has it inspired you to make this film?
Yeah, so the Fraser Canyon, a lot of people come to BC from around the world to go to Squamish. It's like the Canadian mecca for rock climbing and bouldering. It's there's a lot of people that travel out there. A lot of people I know from out the eastern provinces and eastern states that make it out here almost every year to visit Squamish. And where I live, so Squamish is about an hour north or 45 minutes north of Vancouver, and we're about an hour and a half east of Vancouver. And you can't bypass Vancouver. So basically, to get to Squamish, it's about 2.5 hour ish from where I live. So when I first moved to BC, that's the place, it's the Mecca. So that's where you go climbing. That's where you want to go try out some of the classic boulders. So that's where I went. But when COVID hit, and then I started to spend a bit more time in the Fraser Valley, and I work for dairy farms. I work with dairy farms in all over BC, so I get to travel and see a lot of different places. And there was always this place that I would drive up in the Fraser Canyon on my way to one of the farms, that I would notice this massive boulder on the side of the highway, and it was hard to tell because it was pretty treed up and all around it and in front of it, so like I couldn't really tell if there was anything behind it. And every time I'd drive up, I'd be like, man, I gotta stop by, and I gotta go see what's out there. I gotta just curious to see what's there. And yeah, after a couple of years of driving there, I finally I was up in the canyon with my family, and coming back from one of the tourist area, I was like, let me stop by quick. And so I stopped by. I go check out the boulder. I'm like, wow, this is a pretty massive boulder. It looks pretty fun. And then I go behind it, and then I start seeing more boulders, and I see a big one that has like a massive off width in it, and I'm like, wow, this is sick. Like, so I'm gonna have to come back to this. It's like right away. That was, I think, December 2020. And then yeah, I was all right away. I was like, this is the place I'm gonna come for the next little bit, anyways, and see what's there, right? And
And your vision looking at this place was just like you were gold strucken by this like vision of first ascents for this
yeah,
area.
exactly. By that time, I had already been developing other boulders here and there in like some of the established area in the Fraser Valley around where I live. But when I found that, I was like, this is just nice. It's just like a pure, untouched climbing area where I could just have fun and discover, right? It's like that adventure part of bouldering and discovering new things and seeing if anything is possible and what's possible. So that's what really attracted me to that.
How does this particular place that you found on your travels differ from the place that's close to your home that you were establishing first ascents in? Like, is it like how far of a drive is it? You're saying it's still part of this kind of Fraser Valley. How big is this valley?
Yeah, so the Fraser Valley extends from like basically Vancouver all the way to where we are. So it's an hour and a half, like very.
Oh, so it's huge.
Yeah, it's a pretty big valley, but
Okay.
there's nothing really, between Vancouver and Abbotsford, which is an hour from Vancouver. There's not much in there. Maybe on the north side, but anyways, there isn't that much until you get to where we are. So like where I am at the far end of the Fraser Valley, it's called Agassiz, a small town that I always like to call the island of the Fraser Valley, because it's like tucked away in between rivers, and it's like it's not an island, but it just feels like it is. And so from my place, there's probably one, two, three, four. There's probably 5 or 6 different zone that have been established and have been developed, and a lot of it is by I don't know if you know Marc-Andre Leclerc from the Alpinists. So he's from the town that I live in. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So a lot of boulders.
Is it? I'm assuming his name and his history is very like prevalent in that town and the culture that exists there.
Yeah, it's there. There's definitely a lot of climbs that have his name on it, and there's a lot that I guess I don't know. I'm sure some of the older, more local people that grew up here, grew up with him, know some of the climbs that they've never been published or they've never been told to anyone. So that was his style, I think, from what I know of him.
Yeah, it's very, very quiet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot more that a lot of people don't know about, but he's definitely had a big community out here, and a lot of, so him and his group have established a lot of climbs out here, like Marco Lefebvre and Nate Woods are guys that for years and years they've developed a lot of the areas here. But it's very similar in a way to like what you have in Squamish. A lot of it is either talus or forested area. They're really nice areas. There's good boulders, good clusters, and good quality of rock as well. But what's really different is when you hit the canyon. The canyon has a lot of history because that's where basically everything came through. The between the mountains in Alberta, there's no way through, so everything came through the canyon. So there's a lot of history in there, and it's just a very, very picturesque area. It's just like you're tucked in like very, very tight mountains, tall peaks, and the terrain that you have is quite varied. So like the first area that I discovered is in some talus and forested area, and then you cross the highway and you get into these like crazy beaches that where a lot of the people that came and prospect and try to find gold, that's where they would have gone, because that's where the current would have made piles of sand and people would have gone there to try to find gold. And then so yeah, it's just the valley and the way it differs from the canyon and the way it differs from the valley is just like so beautiful, and you're just like tucked in between these mountains. The sun peaks over the peaks, and you're like on the beach there, and it's just like it's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember like watching the film. I remember seeing in the area and was like, wow, this is actually like a really tight, almost like kind of narrow canyon.
It is.
With a really massive, almost intimidating river that runs through the middle of it.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the history of this valley. It's named after a guy named Simon Fraser. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I mean, the I guess the history that I know, anyways, is that Simon Fraser tried to come and find the West Coast, or find new place to develop or colonize. And so he had a lot of indigenous people guide him through the canyon where there was no roads, and it was like basically cliff hanging the whole way through, because it is a pretty crazy river, especially because a good chunk of BC gets funneled through the Fraser Canyon to get to the ocean. So when the water melts from the mountains in the spring, then the river gets into this narrow channel and rises up like crazy. So a lot of the boulders that we climb on the beaches, they're massive, like 30, 40 foot boulders, and some are a bit higher, and those also get underwater when the river comes up.
Wow, so we're talking like a 30 to 40 foot disparity between seasons.
Easy.
For the height of that is a lot of water.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
It's easy. So like if you watch the film, you see the Boulder Akalos. It's the big prow where there's Aphrodite, there's a V10 on it. I don't know if you recall that one, but
oh yeah, it's on the list.
Yeah, so you can see the river behind it, and it's like pretty low below it, and that boulder, there's like just a small peak that you see when the river comes up. because that's like one of the narrowest spot in the canyon. So it rises like so much that, yeah, it doesn't rise for that long. So it's underwater for maybe 2 months ish.
Okay.
But it's still like
Do you know
pretty impressive.
do you know how fast it rises? Is it like over a day, a couple weeks? Like, have you seen the change?
I've seen the change. It's over a couple of days.
Wow, that's so crazy. That's so
Well,
fast.
to rise over the boulder completely, like it's probably over like a 2-3 week period. But you can see like you like we'll go to a boulder that's on one of the beach, and you can see the water is starting to come up, and then you go like 3 days later, and it's like now you can't climb on it because the water's at the boulder, and then you go 3 days later, and it's like halfway up the boulder, so it's like it's yeah, it's pretty impressive to see, and it makes for a very interesting terrain.
Yeah, absolutely. Back onto the history of this area, are there any like physical evidence of this kind of like historical culture that has kind of like almost given itself, it's almost like this historical nature with the indigenous tribes, Simon Fraser, the gold rush, like there's so much story behind this canyon. Is there any physical evidence that you found in these areas?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories that I've heard or that I've seen from talking to some of the local natives, and they still have their own family fishing grounds. So the Fraser Canyon, from what I know, is the only place that you can air dry salmon. So like the families, because it funnels, like the wind comes through there so fast that they can just like basically put their salmon on trays, and like I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but anyways, and then the wind just blows so hard that it dries the salmon. So so you can see some of those camps that are still there. I don't know how it evolved over time and history, but you can see that the families are still fishing there, and they're still drying fish there. And you can see like some remnants of like old cabins. Like I said, it's hard to tell, are they from the gold rush era or from when they are, but yeah, you can see some remnants of that, and from when they first built like the Salmon Passage as well. There's old ruins from when they first built like channels for the salmon to go up the river.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can see the old bridge. There's a old highway. So we crossed the old highway to get to some of the boulders as well. So it's like a highway from like the early 1900s that eventually got paved and eventually got blown out too many times. So they decided to do another one higher.
Yeah,
so we used that highway actually to get to some of the areas. So and I know there's places that have like hieroglyphics or petroglyphs. Yeah, exactly. From that era, but I haven't seen any myself. And there's another spot that one of the local told me that people go to search for gold still, because there's an old train wreck that apparently is down in the river that the sand just gathers in it, and then people go. I've tried to find it, but based on what she told me, but I haven't found it. So
what was the cargo on the train? Was it valuable?
No, it's really just because the train fell down there, so now the sand gets into there, so then there's more chance of
has a higher chance of trapping.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
So yeah,
got it.
Yeah. So
have you ever gone panhandling at all?
No, but actually very recently I saw one guy come down to the boulders as I was leaving, and I was like, "Oh, you're going gold pan?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How much do you make when you do it? Like, do you find enough?" He was like, "Yeah, a good day I'll make like $150, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty sweet. Maybe I should bring a pan." And when I'm,
I mean, yeah, if you're down there all the time, you might as well increase your odds, right?
Yeah, if I'm just sitting there between goes, grab a bit of sand and I'll make my wife happy,
funny.
bring a bit of gold, So.
Yeah, pay. Yeah, I was about to say pay for the bolts, but you're not bolting
No,
anything, so
exactly.
you don't have to worry about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Pay for the pads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What about the Indigenous tribe? So there's two, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to slaughter these names, so please correct me. Spasm
Yeah, exactly.
and Yale.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so talk to me about these two tribes. Talk to me about kind of the history, and also how that relates to like where they are currently in this valley.
Yeah, so all the boulders that we've developed so far are in between those two nations, basically. So you have the town of Yale, which was the Yale that also saw the gold rush, but there's a native band that is there, that lives there. And a bit further up the canyon is the Spasm Nation. So there's still a lot of people that live there and have their land. And in between the two, it's all native land. So yeah, all the boulders that we climb on are on their land. So basically, when I first discovered it, I was like, yeah, maybe I should I should ask if that's okay. Because I don't know what they use it for. That's the only thing I knew was from the sort of last 50-year history. So like I didn't know much at the time, right?
How did you find out that it was indigenous land in the first place?
Basically, I just do a parcel search on online. So there's like a website for BC. I'm sure every probably states or province have their own specific website to search for parcel identification. And on there it can tell you like who owns it, and what the land is and whatnot.
So you were searching not necessarily like maybe this is indigenous tribe land. You were trying to figure out just who owns the land in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at first that's what I was doing, and then once I found out, then and at first I wasn't too sure. Is it Yale? Is it Spasm? It's like not clear. So I contacted the Spasm chief because it's closer to Spasm, so it made sense to me that it would be some of their territory. And so I phoned him, and then and he was like super excited. Actually, he's like, yeah, that's pretty cool that you guys want to climb out there and use the land. He was like, yeah, just I can see you're respectful because you're like calling me to be able to do what you do. And he was like, the only thing he said was just if you have to cut down trees that are more than 6 inch in diameter, like let us know because we'll come and get it and we'll come get the wood and whatnot. But and otherwise he's like, yeah, like feel free to make some trails and just make sure you respect the locals, the fishermen if you see them. And that was kind of it. And once we started to develop more south towards Yale, and I was like, oh, maybe I think we're getting into the Yale Nation territory. And so I emailed them, tried to get in touch with the chief there as well. And eventually he told me to just call him, and we spoke on the phone. And similar thing. He was like, yeah, that's pretty cool that you guys want to climb out there and whatnot. He said, the only thing is like if you're cleaning the moss off the boulders, just put some tobacco down and like say a prayer. So like to thank nature, I guess, to give you this privilege, right?
Absolutely.
So it's pretty cool. Actually, it was kind of hard, honestly, to find some tobacco. I wasn't sure where to go, but I didn't want to buy cigarettes or something, So, but I found a local native shop, and the lady actually picks it up herself, and she actually told me like where she finds it and what it looks like and all that. So anyways, cool. I just get it from her, and then I do what they ask for. So yeah, it's pretty cool. They're on board with it, and it's nice to be able to give back to the community as well, and to share that with them. So yeah, they've been all for it.
That's awesome. Obviously, kind of like looking way far in the future, do you see this location as having the potential to be like seen high volumes of people?
I mean, it 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 has the potential in terms of, I think, quality of boulder and quality of space that you're climbing in, because there's also a lot of big walls that could be like multi-pitch, and it's not
Mm.
something I do very often, so it's hard for me to judge like the quality of routes and the quality of pitches and whatnot that would be there. But it looks
You've
like
you've yeah, you've piqued my interest. How tall?
uh
Like if you were to estimate,
I
like 1,000 meters, 300 meters.
they'd be probably, yeah, 1,000 meter. I'd say like
So
some, yeah,
huge.
so they're big walls. Yeah, there's some that are
Wow.
not as big, but there's lots in there. There's definitely a lot of walls to be done. Um, so it would have the potential to attract a lot of climbers. Um, but I think it's just out of the way for a lot of people. There's other places that have high quality bouldering, high quality climbing in BC as well. And I think just having Squamish over there is like, it makes it so that people don't travel as far, or it's funny because like people will come from Alberta or from Washington or from other provinces or states, and they'll drive through a lot of those really good areas and not even stop to try it
Yeah, just
out,
be on
or
their
yeah.
phones, like swiping their mountain project on BC when they've got, thousands of feet of granite around them. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was kind of the idea as well with the film, is not, obviously we don't want to overcrowd it, but because it's so out of the way for a lot of people, I was thinking that, making a film and showing how nice it is, that it would be worth the drive to come at least check it out and try some of the climbs that are out there, and hopefully to attract enough as well to the Fraser Valley. Maybe they won't go as far as the Fraser Canyon, but in the Fraser Valley, where maybe at some point we don't have to rescrub everything all the time, because we are in pretty rainy forest, so moss grows fast, and things grow pretty quick. So it's nice to have a bit more traffic, a bit more than what we have. Maybe not Squamish level, but it would be nice to have just a little bit more to share the space and to have a bigger community that contributes to the climbing and the just the whole community aspect of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Has the Spasm or the Yale tribe shown any interest in exploring the sport of climbing?
The little bit. So they have a big plan for a potential resort in some of the mountains in the middle of the canyon there. So like a ski resort. And when I first talked to the Spasm chief, he was saying like, yeah, there's like some massive walls out there. Like we actually were thinking to maybe get some professional climbers to develop and clean the walls and get it ready for that potential resort they're working on. So I think if that ever gets closer, then maybe we'll talk some more about developing that area, and potentially it's just right now there's like I think it's like a 2.5 hour ATV ride to get there. So
Yeah.
it's
I mean more specifically like tribe members interested in the sport of climbing in general.
Uh, so we did not at the Spasm itself, but there's another one just before you get into the canyon that I wouldn't try to say the name because I would butcher that one as well. But I did show the film to the community there, and there was definitely some of the kids, some of the teenage kids that were like getting pretty psyched about trying some of the boulders, and maybe at least going to the climbing gym that's close by and then starting that way. So it's pretty cool to see that. In some of the high schools that I showed the film to as well, there's some people that are from these communities and or different bands and nations, and there's a few of them too that were like, oh, this is pretty cool, like, yeah, I've gone climbing once, but this looks pretty fun. So, and it's close to my place, so it's cool to like pique that interest a little bit in the community. So hopefully that turns into a bit more people coming out.
Yeah, it's awesome that you've already started to see some like net positive from your efforts, just like kind of rousing the community and getting people interested in this area that seems to be so easily overlooked.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice, dude. Well, before we dive into like these specific areas of the Fraser Valley and kind of your efforts in route development in these areas, I'd like to expand on kind of who you are personally and kind of give people the framework to understand, both the area and the developer. So talk to me about how you found climbing. I have here that you found it when you were 31, which is pretty late, I would say. So, I found it when I was 23, and I was devastated that I had that I had found it so late. So talk to me about kind of your journey and how you've handled finding this passion so late in your life. I'm sure you're as tired as I am of hearing ads about AG1, Fizzy Vantage, and all the other brands that you end up just skipping while listening to your favorite climbing podcasts. My vision is to create an ad-free show that is completely supported by its listeners. And for that dream to become a reality, I need your help. Become a supporting member of the Climbing Majority podcast today. You'll receive access to exclusive episodes, you'll be able to ask upcoming guests your own questions, and ultimately, you'll be providing the critical support this show needs to stay ad-free. For as little as $3 a month, you can help support the show. Head on over to patreon.com/the Climbing Majority Podcast. That's patreon.com/the Climbing Majority Podcast.
That's one thing that I always find actually pretty funny. I listen to a fair amount of podcasts, different like yours and different climbing podcasts. And, I often hear people and be like, oh, I started pretty late. I was like 16 or I was 21.
Yeah,
and
I was 8. And I think I heard recently someone's like, I started pretty late. I was like 12. I'm like, dude,
exactly.
Get out of here.
Yeah, totally. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I had been to a climbing gym before when I was like, I don't know, maybe 19, 20, 21, something like that. I went to one of my nephew's birthday, I think, in Montreal, where I grew up. I grew up in Quebec, so I grew up French speaking. So if anything doesn't come through properly, it's probably my French. We'll blame it on that. Yeah, so I remember going to one of the gym, and I did a climb, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're pretty good." He's like, "You should do it more often." But at the time, the climbing gyms were like, there was no bouldering gyms really, and there was nothing close to me anyways, and I wasn't really driving all that far, and there was only like sport climbing gyms really. So there's like, yeah, so that's what was there, and the closest would have been probably 45 minutes from my place. So it was not like in my neighborhood. It was not like something that was easily accessible. So I enjoyed it when I did it, but it wasn't like I'm hooked and I want to do this much traveling to figure it all out. So it wasn't until I was like 31 that a buddy of mine invited me to a bouldering gym. It's called Block Shop in Montreal. If ever you go there, it's one of the best climbing bouldering gyms I've ever been to. It's really good, and just really cool vibe. Just people there, just like raw climbing. Just like, good group of people, good gym. And I was like, right away, I was like, this is my style. Like this is the type of climbing that I want to do. And so I got my pair of shoes and started climbing at the gym for the first, like, I want to say 2 years. That's what I did, just gym climbing. Similar thing with the outdoors. Where I was, there wasn't really anything close by or anything of quality, or the people that I was bouldering with at the gym weren't going outside. So yeah, I only climbed like maybe twice outside before I moved to BC. I think twice, 2 or 3 times anyways. So I didn't have that much experience outside until I moved to British Columbia. So, and then like, yeah, 8 years ago, I moved to, yeah, it's 8 years ago now, moved to BC, started to go to the local gym. And then some of the guys I was climbing with, they were like, "Let's go to Squamish," and I was like, "Okay, let's go." Like, that's I'm down, you know. And then and it just got hooked with climbing outside and discovering what Squamish is, and you know, all the classics that are there, and just trying to get better and stronger and whatnot. And didn't have kids at the time either, so that left for a lot more free time than I
free
have now.
man.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you know, there was not as much request from my wife to come back too early. I mean, she still wanted me to come back home, you know, but now it's a bit, you know, tighter time frames. So so anyways, yeah, so I started climbing in Squamish, and then a buddy of mine, actually Alex, that's in the film as well, got me to the Stacks. Is another area that's like actually 20 minutes from my place. And once I went there, I was like, man, why am I going to Squamish? Like, there's like so much like right around me. So so yeah, that's how I started to climb more regularly in the Fraser Valley, and started to, you know, the information that was on Mountain Project was kind of sparse. It was a little bit all over the place. There was some that were like, that was on Instagram, some that was on Mountain Project. So I was trying to consolidate a little bit of the information to, again, to try to get a bit more people to come, you know, just try the quality of climbing we have in our area. So so yeah, and then it evolved to what it is now.
Yeah. So you've been climbing for 10 years now?
Yeah, just
And
10
and 2 of it was indoor, and then after that it's outdoor.
yeah, pretty much.
Obviously a mix, but mostly outdoor.
Yeah.
It seems like you found a proclivity for bouldering kind of early on, and just kind of stuck with that passion.
Yeah.
Tell me about your passion for bouldering when it compares to other disciplines in climbing.
I like, so in general, like, I like sports that I'm not dependent on anything outside of myself, basically. You know, I enjoy going out with others. I enjoy climbing with my friends. I've done like sports, like hockey, and like I've done team sports. But what I've really enjoyed getting older, and in my 20s and whatnot, I started river surfing. So that was a similar in a way to bouldering. Is all you need is your board. You know, if it's cold, you need a wetsuit, and then the wave. That's all you need, you know. You don't need to wait for anyone. You can just do your sport wherever you want. And I like high adrenaline, high strength sports as well, you know. So yeah, I started river surfing, and then when I found bouldering, it was just like yeah, it's, you test your strength, and you're just a couple paths, and you find a boulder, and you can climb, you know. A pair of shoes, or not, you know. Some people climb without shoes, but that's all you need.
Yeah, you had mentioned that what's your climbing part, Alex? Is it Alex?
Yeah.
Alex. So he kind of brought you outside bouldering, right?
Yeah, at the one that's close to me. So
yeah. So you're how do I say this? Your passion for bouldering, and the way you reflect on it by saying it's like this solo sport, and how you're able to just rely on yourself. You don't need anybody else to kind of like be able to make it happen. It seems though that you know, that particular passion didn't necessarily come from a lack of partnership. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
So but you are still bouldering with other people, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So talk to me about the difference there. Like, talk to me about the difference between, I guess, sport climbing and bouldering. Because I would argue that sport climbing, while yes, you need a partner to belay you, it's still a very individualistic sport where you're the one climbing, right? You know, you're climbing, it's your goal, it's your connection to the rock. How does that experience differ in your eyes to that of a boulderer?
Um, yeah, I think it's, there's definitely very similar aspects to it. I think the biggest thing is really if the only time I have is from like 8 to midnight on a Thursday, then I don't need to hope that someone is down to do that, because I do crazy stuff like that where, like, I'll go out climbing in January from like 9 to 1 in the morning, and there's not a lot of people that are down to do that.
So there is a sense of lack of partnership that forces you, or it inspires you to pursue this sport of bouldering, because of just the nature of when and how you like to climb, and the ability to be spontaneous in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the spontaneous. Anyways, that's
Spontaneity.
that's my French coming out. Anyways,
That's a hard one,
that
yeah.
aspect is definitely attractive to me, and yeah, it's just the raw power, right? It's a lot of very hard moves back to back. It's very often just like really, you got to test your strength. And I think from also coming from, before that, I used to do the gym thing. I was like 3-4 times a week at the gym, and just got tired of it. And I was like, oh, like, why am I, what am I building muscles for? It's like, it's not doing anything. So I think bouldering came in at that time too, where I was like, like now I can build strength for that,
Yeah.
So
Application for sure.
yeah, exactly. So
How do you I would say risk is at least for me, an integral portion of the sport of climbing for myself. And in my reflection, outside of highball bouldering, I find that bouldering itself lends to the least amount of possible risk in all the disciplines of climbing. How have you developed your relationship with risk, and how does it play a role in your experience as a climber?
yeah, I mean, that definitely evolved as well, from not having kids to now having kids. You definitely take risks that you wouldn't take now that I have kids. I have to go back home and work and whatnot. And the other thing too is, considering where I climb most of the time, a lot of the areas that I climb in the Fraser Valley and the Fraser Canyon, there's no reception. So I enjoy like highball bouldering. I like that. I love that. And but I'll do it very, very carefully, and I'll practice with rope, and like I'll do a lot of very secure steps to make sure I don't do something stupid, which might still happen, but I try to be safe about it. But yeah, you're right. I think it's definitely the most safe type of climbing, I think. And
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't mean to come at this with like a derogatory lens. I'm just curious into diving into, like, I guess your risk perception and how it plays a role in your climbing. I think you answered that question. Yeah, I mean, you're a family man. You got 2 kids. It's like you they can't afford, you can't afford something going wrong. And I'm definitely not arguing that like taking a bunch of risk and putting our lives on the line is something that should be glorified. And honestly, if you've been following the show, it's quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite.
Totally. It makes me think, actually, I was recently listening to an older episode with where Max did Denali.
Yeah.
And I was like listening to the story, and then I was like, I'll listen to the Alex side of the story when he falls through the crevasse, And I was like, man, this is like so gnarly. I was like, me and my boulders, I was like, this is so nothing, It's like, I was listening to the whole story and both sides of the story, and I was like, this is nuts. Like, I was like, And it's funny because like this is the type of adventures I would like to do. And maybe eventually like I would do something like that. But that would be when like one of my kids want to do something like that. Then I would be all
You
in.
risk both lives. We're all in.
Exactly. Yeah, not sure my wife would like
Your wife's
that.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about this.
But if that's something they're into, and that's something they want to do, obviously, I think they talked about it in these episodes as well. But you take all the necessary steps to try to make it as safe as possible, and you try to make the sound decisions that you can to make it as safe as possible. But just the whole adventure and going out in the mountains like that is it's definitely something that I would love to do at some point, but not right now.
Yeah, fair enough. How old are your kids?
6 and 4.
Okay, so you're past the hump and kind of almost getting to the fun zone. Am I right there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely
cool.
there's definitely times where it's not as fun. But for the most part, you enjoy every moment, and it is fun. They're getting into sports and stuff, so they do enjoy doing a bit of climbing, and so they enjoy doing that. So hopefully that carries through, and we can do some together later on, right? So.
Yeah. How have you balanced that? I think there's a lot of fathers out there with younger kids that might be like having this pipe dream vision of like their son or their daughter being their best climbing partner when they grow up. Do you have that vision, and how are you dancing that? Because I think there's this problem that we could run into where we want it more than the kids want it, and then they just by nature don't want it because it's almost forced upon them in a way.
Yeah.
How are you balancing that?
Yeah, like I try, like I grew up doing a lot of different sports, so that's kind of what I try to do is I try to get them to skate, to play soccer, play hockey, climb, do a whole bunch of different sports, and probably sports that I've never done as well, like lacrosse is like pretty big out here, which never was when I was growing up out east in Quebec. So maybe we'll get them to do that, try a whole bunch of different sports and let them decide what they want. But obviously they, when I was showing clips of the film on TV to try to see like is that good or not, they really enjoy watching me. It's like, oh, it's Papa climbing, they enjoy watching that. So hopefully, that does get them interested in at least in the mountains somehow, right? But it's definitely something I'm very mindful of, that I try not to push anything onto them. But to me, they have to do some form of sports. Like they have to, like that's whatever it is, I don't really care, but they have to do something, and they have to play outdoors. They have to, that's
scrape your knees.
Yeah, exactly.
Use some band-aids, grow some muscles.
Exactly. Yeah. They love band-aids, even when there's no scratch. It's like,
just like bump it on. Oh, I need a band-aid.
Exactly. Yeah.
So. You're like, so you can play football, or you can go climbing. And if you go climbing, you get ice cream afterward. Which one do you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, climbing? Okay, yeah, sounds great.
Wonder why you like climbing more. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. There's no plans for kids on my my timeline. But I could see that being a delicate balance for sure, and also something that could be so rewarding to have someone like that be a climbing partner after a while. It would be really cool.
Yeah. I think looking forward to it. Like I said, if it's not climbing, like whatever they do, like I did speed skating when I was young, and then my son started to speed skate now, so like I try to do it with them a little bit as well. I started speed skating again just to be more with them and enjoy the sports they're doing. So hopefully there's some climbing in there, but we'll see what they want to do. But having climbing walls, and I built a small one for their bedroom when they were young kids. So like having those.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart. Get them used to the movement early on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
you could like build bunk beds and make climbing like holds the only way they can get to the top bunk.
yeah. So they enjoy that, and that also helps with training, right? To be able to keep up. Like the closest gym for me is like 30 minutes. So that's also why I climb outside most of the time, because I can get faster to outdoor boulders than to the gym. But
That's a non-negotiable there. It's like, do I drive farther to the gym or do I go outside?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go outside.
exactly. So
yeah. I'd say a lot of us, myself included, when we're climbing and kind of getting to the sport, injury is unfortunately kind of a part of the sport. I'd say for some of us, there are some of those few lucky people who somehow go their entire climbing career without an injury. But it doesn't sound like you're one of them. Tell me about that.
Unfortunately not. No, I had a good 10-year run pretty much. So but yeah, I ruptured the tendon in my bicep back in October now. So yeah, that was,
so relatively recently.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just getting back into it. So we pretty much wrapped up the film, and I did it. So
what happened?
Just climbing, bouldering on it's like a pretty overhang boulder. There's like a roof that you have to climb or sort of jump out of, and you're going from a pretty big undercling on your right hand, and it's hard to remember off the top because it happens so fast. But I think a foot slipped, and I tried to hold myself, and as I was pulling back and trying to stay on the wall, then that's when the tendon just ruptured.
Wow.
And
so we have two connection points at the base of the bicep that go into this joint down here. Do you know if it was both or one of them?
It was one of them, because I think that's why it was confusing to the doctor at first, because like the tendon ruptured, and it was like caught in that other tissue that's attaching there. I forget the name for it, but because my bicep didn't fully curl back up.
Oh, it didn't curl?
No,
okay.
Exactly. So that's why.
So you must have had like one of those two go, or something. Okay.
Exactly. So the tendon was caught in the other one, or something like that. Anyways, so it didn't curl all the way up. So my buddy that I was bouldering with is a paramedic, and he was like, "Oh, I don't think it's a full rupture." I was like, "I hope not." And then test it out right after, right? As a good climber, do it, you test it out, and like I couldn't pull on it. I could hold. I could hold fine. Like there was no problem. It was still a bit sensitive, obviously, but I couldn't pull on it. And because it didn't curl up, like I saw the doctor right away, and he was like, I don't think it's a full rupture. And then so I did some acupuncture and some physio as well right away. And after maybe a month, I was like looking in the mirror. I'm looking at my two biceps. I'm like, it still doesn't look right. Doesn't feel right. It doesn't hurt. Like the pain goes away because it's a full rupture. So, and then ended up, who did I talk to? My physio requested an ultrasound. And then at the ultrasound, the guy was like, yep, it's fully ruptured. He's like, I've done this for 30 years. I just saw two other guys before you. Same thing, like full rupture. He's like, oh,
so
crap.
So he's like the full thing, like
the full
connection point,
the full tendon. It's the one that wraps around to the top of your forearm, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
I think.
It's interesting. Okay.
Because
surgery?
Yeah. I had so yeah, it happened October 3rd, and then I had surgery December 11th. So yeah, just
good on you for getting on it. Because I've heard those ones are really a bitch to repair if you wait a long time because of all the atrophy.
Yeah. So that's one thing. I think it was pretty fast, but maybe because I had done also already a bunch of things to try to recover fast. So the tendon was really close to where it was supposed to be, and the surgeon was like, I don't think I'll need more tendon pieces to put it back together. But he said, if we need it in your knee. It's the same one that they take if you have ACL torn ACL. And then woke up and actually they had to take the tendon in my knee as well. So the early recovery was actually worse for my leg than my arm, because my arm's like, it doesn't move. It's, you're not doing anything with it. So but my leg, I didn't think, because the surgeon was also like, oh yeah, you'll be fine, you just walk, and so I didn't lift my leg, I didn't do much, and then like 2-3 days in, my leg's like fully swollen, and I'm like having a hard time walking on it. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I should lift it up, I should keep so it was harder on my leg than my arm, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, did followed the physio, and the first month or two is kind of hard because you're not doing much. But just started to go back outside and be able to climb on rocks again. So this feels good. So
good.
Yeah, had a good 10-year, but yeah.
Yeah, you made it a decade.
Yeah,
hats off to you.
Exactly.
Hats off to you.
Yeah. So.
Oh. Damn, that sucks, man. Sorry to hear it. It seems like you're in good spirits about it, though. A lot of us get pretty devastated after stuff like that. Doesn't seem like it was like a traumatic injury, though. More of just like a sports injury where it's more frustrating than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like having to take a back burner, especially when you have a couple different projects you're getting close on, and I was like getting close on a couple climbs that I was like hoping to finish before winter or whatever, and just like that happened, and I was like, crap, shit, it's gonna have to wait, so I
think a good balance though that I talk about a lot in the show is finding like everyone talks about work-life balance. I almost find like climbing life balance is something that goes overlooked. It's like it's so easy for us to be just absolutely just absorbed by the sport of climbing. And when we get into those mind states, when injuries like this happen where you can't climb anymore, it can get really devastating really quick, and it can be really poor for our mental health. So I think it's cool that you're a nice example of somebody who's got diversification. You have family, you have kids, you've got a career, you have focuses in your life, so that when you tear your bicep on a project and you can't climb for 6 months, you're not on suicide watch, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other thing is, obviously there's never a good time for an injury to happen. You just hope that it never happens. But what I guess what helped too is, we wrapped up the film, and we had like a premiere event in December, and then from that, like actually the night before I had surgery, we had our premiere event. And yeah, and then after that, like I started showing it in a bunch of high schools, and there's a lot of things that came from having the film out as well. And then I had the Kaya guide as well to finish for the Fraser Canyon. So there's still like climbing related things happening, just not the climbing itself. So that's still fun to be able to.
That's serendipitous to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still fun to be able to do that while recovering. Right. So, yeah.
Well, nice, dude. Let's dive into kind of back into the Fraser Canyon, back into these specific areas. And let's talk about kind of this development process for each one. So, I'm just going to go chronologically, as the way it is in the film, for anybody listening, obviously check out the film. That's what we're talking about here.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk about it more at the end of the episode here. But the first location here is called Gold Rush. Is that correct?
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The notes I have for this area is I was astonished at how much cleaning it looked like it needed.
Yep.
And talk to me about that. Is that a annual upkeep? talking about the area, what kind of climbing, what's got you psyched about Gold Rush?
Well, Gold Rush is the initial place, so it's kind of why as well we put it first in the film, is like the first place that I started to develop when I was like basically the only one going into the canyon, until I had a couple of friends that started to come out. Um, that's also why, like, I think I want to say all the climbs in the Gold Rush is climbs that I did, because it's pretty much all climbs I did in that area. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of cleaning, but in a way, like, the first time it's not as bad as the Fraser Valley. Um, and I think because it rains just as much, but I think maybe because of the wind. So like a lot of the dust that would settle on the rock doesn't tend to stay on there. That's my analysis of it anyways. So so far, like, when I've gone back to some of the climb we've established like 4 years ago, I haven't had too much to clean, other than the boulders that we haven't cleaned yet. It's more like a bit of trail maintenance. Again, I think because of the wind, branches fall on some of the trails, and there's a bit of cleaning that way. But so far, it hasn't been as bad as some of the areas in the Fraser Valley, I'd say, for keeping it up to snuff and like being able to use the area. So that's been really good. But the big one, and it's too bad because we didn't have time to put the full line. But if you remember Bangarang Rufio, like, it does finish out and top out, but we didn't have time to finish recording it. Just end of day trying to get it all in, and just didn't work out. But it's a really interesting climb because there's a little bit of everything. Like, you have like big jugs, underclings, you have finger cracks, you have hand jam, you have like crimps, you have like finicky toe placement. So there's a lot of variety in that climb. And when I first saw that boulder, that's the one that made me go like, oh, like, this is sick, this is big, this got lots, that was the one that really got me to be like, okay, like, I'm coming back.
What's it name and what's it rated?
Bangarang Rufio is rated it as a V9. No one else has done it yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, how accurate would you say your ratings are? I've never like rated my own routes or anything.
Yeah,
I would imagine, obviously after a while it's a peer consensus, right?
It is. Yeah.
How accurate would you say you feel like you are?
I think for the most part I'm fairly accurate. I think I like, before I give it a grade, usually, because I don't like giving like slash grade. Like, there's sometimes you'll see like V6 7.
Yeah, that's lazy.
Yeah, and I don't like it. So like, I try to come up with like the one that makes the most sense. Obviously based on what I've climbed before and what's out in that specific area. And but I've heard from a couple of friends that it might be a little stiff on my grading. So so some of the climbs might be a bit sandbagged.
So it's harder than you've rated it potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think from what I've heard, as a developer, you want to be known as stiff and not soft.
Yeah, and I try to be like, it's always hard because it always depends on your style of climbing, because like some of the climbs I'm obviously like, I've rated a certain grade and I'm like, well, honestly, this one is like so height dependent that it's like someone that's 6 foot it's gonna be way easier than what I graded it, and someone that's like 5 foot tall or 5'2" it's going to be way harder than what I graded it. So
what's it rated? Good luck.
Exactly. Right. So, there's just some climbs that are like that, but for the most part, I think I'm pretty accurate in my opinion anyways.
So I guess I skipped this. I asked this question a lot to our route developers and first ascensionists on this show. I feel like I'll summarize this thought. there's a path we have as climbers to climb classics, to open the guidebook, to go find our own climbs, to climb in the path of the people that have set, these routes before us. And you could do that for your entire life. What about establishing your own routes and being one of those people that goes out and do that inspired you? Like, why did you take that path versus the other one?
It's really the whole adventure, like a little bit like we were talking about the Denali. Yes, people have done the Denali before, but it's so rugged, so different that, like, depending on the season, I'm sure it varies a lot. So it's not like you get the beta from someone and just do this and you'll be up the Denali, so a bit the same thing with the bouldering. Obviously it's not as extreme, but when you go out and nobody's done it, there's that whole aspect of, let's see what I can make out of this, and the whole adventure of, like, it's a lot of work, making some of the trails and maintaining them and cleaning the boulders, and when you do this, you're not climbing. So, but I don't really want to just digest climbing. I just, like, I want the whole experience, I want the whole thing, out. Yeah. I just don't want to, it's like a fast food, or you can make your own burger, like it.
I like that analogy for sure.
It's
no, I totally get it.
So yeah, that's really why. It's just, I want to, I find I get more of a connection with the climbing and where I'm climbing than if I just go to a boulder, send it, and then move on to the next boulder. I just find it develops just a relationship.
It's almost like having the yin without the yang.
Yeah,
you're just
totally.
It's just a clear missing piece to it. You're just like, there is no other way. This is how it should be done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, I enjoy the whole process. It's a lot of fun to me. So
hell yeah. What about Gold Beach? Talk to me about Gold Beach and its characteristics and what routes stand out in that area.
Gold Beach is right across from Gold Rush. It's one of the times I was out there, I was trying to climb, and then I heard a car come by, and there's rarely ever anyone there, so I was like curious. I walked around and went to see, and I saw a fisherman go across the highway. So when I was done my session, I went to check it out, and I was like, oh, I saw like some pretty nice boulders and some, like, from up top, because it's like down from a cliff, you can see the whole beach. And I was like, this is pretty sick. But, like, it was like middle of winter, so it was rainy, everything was wet. So I was like, I'll go check it out later when it's not rainy. And then the next time I checked it out, it was like the water level was high. So, like, the whole mountain, I don't know if you remember the shot in the film, but the big mountain that you see when it pans out over the beach, like, I'm standing by, I don't know if you remember that shot, but I'm standing by the cliffside basically, and you can see the whole beach, and you see the big the rock mountain. That whole mountain is like halfway into water, so like the whole beach disappears. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll wait till the water comes down, to be able to check it out. And then late that summer, a bunch of friends that climb that are closer to Vancouver, I kept bugging them to come out, and finally they did. And so there's a bunch of us climbing at Gold Rush, and I was like, yeah, there's like other boulders there, but like the water's been high, so we're kind of taking a break. And one of my buddies, Eric, that's in the film as well, he decided to take a walk, and he comes back and he's like, there's no water, you can see the beach, like, let's go, and then we're like, oh, sick, like, let's go check it out. So we get out there, and we're just like kids in a sandbox, like, we're just like, well, we're like running around on the sand, we're like, oh, look at this, like, this is pretty fun, it's like, yeah, just having a good old time on the beach. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, the climb so far, there's more, there's a lot more to be done there. It's still very there's not tons that's been done, but the one of the first ones we did there was Eric did it. It's called Beauty and the Beach. Sorry. It's a V6, but it's like a super fun move, super nice, like dyno to a nice jog, and then just a nice climb. So it's probably one of the top V6 in the Fraser Valley, I would say. So it's and it's just like, yeah, you're on the beach, you're just super nice.
Vibes are good.
Yeah, exactly.
So these rocks are submerged in water for months at a time. What kind of rock is it? Is it limestone?
No, so I was trying to read about it, and I think it depends where you are in the canyon. The stuff that's on the beach, I have a hard time saying like what it is, because it's not granite. From what I've read, a lot of the stuff in the canyon is like custard gneiss is the type of rock, but I don't think that's what it is. So I would need someone that's more experienced to
how would you describe the rock?
It varies, because if you go on the mountain, it's very nice. It's more like basalt type texture, but it's not as like, it doesn't feel like it's gonna break like basalt. It feels very solid, and maybe it's just from like the river, chiseling the rock, basically, taking everything that's gonna break, before we even get to it. So, but then you have some of the other boulders that are very, very textured, and maybe that's from the moss that kind of attaches itself to the rock, which sort of builds all these little crevasses into like tiny crevices in the rock. And then there's others that are like feel very granite like. So there's quite the difference in texture, but like everything is like super solid. It's just, yeah, depending on the boulder, there's some that like rips your skin apart, and there's some that are super nice on the skin. So yeah.
What about Gold Beach specifically? Did the water like make it really smooth and polished, or?
Well, so that's the interesting part, is like the mountain is very it's not super polished, but it's like nice and comfortable on the fingers, on the hands. But then some of the other boulders that are closer to the edge, basically to the beach, they're more textured and they're rougher for the most part.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then you have some and those are probably because they were under sand for forever. But like we had a big flood. I don't know if you've heard about it in the news where you are, but we had a big flood in 2021. So that changed a lot the shape of the beach that we have there. And then some of the boulders that were under sand got uncovered. So it made brand new boulders for us to have fun on.
Wow.
And those ones are like super nice, super comfortable, but they're not polished because they haven't been, by the water all of this time. And they're not like rough because they also haven't had like that moss growing on it and whatnot. So they're super comfortable, and they're more like granite feel, but I'm not sure if it is. So
interesting. Such variety.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Super cool. Yeah.
How about, Akalos? Is that how you say it?
Akalos is
Akalos.
Yeah.
Akalos.
Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Yeah.
Tell me about that area.
So that one was Alex. I think was came across another local. I forget where exactly, but and then he kind of hinted him at these other boulders down. So that's down the old highway. So you have to drive down further closer to Yale, and you have to take the old highway. It's rugged, a bit going down there, but yeah, you get to the end of the old highway, or that piece of the old highway, and there's that massive boulder. So Alex found it with the help of one of the locals, I guess, and yeah, it's just a massive, just a I don't know how it formed, but like
it's a behemoth.
yeah,
It's so big.
And
huge.
It's
like it's non-uniform.
Yeah.
It's like bulbulous. It's almost looks like this like cancer rock.
Yeah.
It's really gnarly.
It is very gnarly, and you can see like if you see like, say when you're looking at Aphrodite and like the first two climbs in that part of the film, the one side is like very polished. You can see that the water is like polished that side. You can see like it's very, very, very smooth. And in fact, like when you're getting there and you're trying to traverse for what's called the Akalos climb, it becomes very hard to hold on to things because it's so polished. But you go on that front side where you see Zeus, the V3 up there, the super tall V3 actually, and it's very like blocky. You have like big jugs and like solid rock there too, but it's not polished like the other side. So
you got varied on different angles and aspects of the boulder itself.
Yeah. But
and then Aphrodite goes right up the prow. I was watching the video and I was like, I saw a climb and it like went out to the right. I was like, that's not what I was expecting. And then I saw a climb and like went out to the left. And I was like, who's gonna do the prow? And then all of a sudden, boom, like Aphrodite V10, like straight up the prow. I was like, yeah, there it is. Like so sick. Like, cause that was definitely like the most prominent line.
Yeah.
And just like the key route on that rock that I was like, I need someone to climb this for me right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. I think Nick was pretty psyched when he did that one. It's definitely one of the most, I don't know, perfect line in the canyon for sure. It's definitely it's got the move, it's got the holds, it's got the beauty aspect to it. It's got the height too. Like you're getting pretty high once you get above the prow. So
it's like what, probably 20 feet to the top?
Yeah, I'd say yeah. You're getting pretty up there, and you need a lot of pads because like the prow like goes pretty far out. So you're starting pretty far in to below the prow, and then you're going pretty far out. So you need a decent amount of pads.
Amount of pads and people to move them to be underneath you, right?
Yeah, so like so that's one that I was trying to finish before I got injured. I had like 2 or 3 sessions on it, and but every time I was by myself. So like, trying to do the prow, and I'm like I'm trying to check where my pads are too at the same time. So yeah. I had once where I grabbed the one of the last hold, and then my foot slipped and swung out, and I kind of just like, because you're like pretty under, so like I took a big swing out and I came like just off the pad, and I came like just like a cat, I was like, huh. I'm okay. I was like okay. I'll put my pads out a little bit more than next time. So yeah. So, but
yeah, no, there's definitely a risk factor when you start getting higher up on those boulders. It's not that hard to absolutely devastate your ankles.
Yeah,
it doesn't take much.
It's a bit talus-y, like there. Like the landing is definitely like it's not ideal, but it's still easy to protect. It's not like uneven really. But it's just like you still got to place your pad, because like if you come off the pad, it would be easy to break an ankle or something. So I was like, when I hit it flat, I was like, whew. I was like, I missed that one. I was like, I'm so glad nothing else happened. Like it just came off the pad just flat and nothing. So I was like, perfect.
Yeah, being out there alone, injured with no reception wouldn't be that great.
No, exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
Sawmill Creek, last one.
Sawmill Creek is still seeing a lot of development. That's where we spend most of our time lately. I think that's the one that has the most concentration of boulder. There's some really big ones down at the lowest part in the beach, and there's still a lot in the forest that we practically haven't touched yet. And yeah, it's the area that has the most. And there's like two beaches at that spot too. There's like another beach you saw in the film, like the last shot, you can see the 4 or 5 different climbs that we're on, and there's another beach as well beside it with more boulders. And yeah, like in the film, we didn't put anything in the forest because we hadn't done anything in the forest really at that point. So yeah, it's probably the biggest area of the Fraser Canyon so far. There's like 2 or 3 other areas that we know of up and down the canyon that we haven't done anything yet. We just know they're there, but you know, there's so many boulders, we just can't do them all, you know. So but yeah, it's, you know, Akalos has probably the nicest boulder, and Sawmill would have probably the highest quantity and most variety. And then Gold Beach has like a really, really nice beach. And there's a lot of on the other side of the mountain, there's a lot of like polished boulders that would be really cool to climb that we haven't done yet. But yeah, Sawmill I'd say is probably the best one, I would say, out of the 4 areas. So yeah, really cool climbs, really cool rocks, big rocks, and yeah, super fun.
Lots of just untapped potential.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about this film. What was the precipice for putting this on camera, getting it out there, and kind of sharing it with the world?
Well, like I said before, like, you know, when I first started to climb there, it was really to have a blank canvas and like just have like so much choice to climb. I can pick anything I can climb. And as a few of the others, like one of my friends, Justin, Alex, Nick, like the guys in the film, has started to come out to started to develop more different areas. And I'm like, man, there's so much here, like I can't do it all, like, you know, there's not enough lifetime to do it all. And even if there's like 5 or 6 of us that go out, there's still not enough lifetime to do it all. And it's partly because of what we see in the Fraser Valley that I wanted to share the Fraser Canyon, because I feel like if I had done a film, like, yes, there's really good climbs, there's really nice climbs in the Fraser Valley that would be worth going to, but I don't think that's what would drive someone from Vancouver to come and try it, you know. And maybe that would drive 1 or 2 or 3 person to come and climb it, but you know, not more than that. And after developing the canyon for a while, I was like, man, we have something that's so nice here. I think that's what would drive people to maybe not even make it all the way to the canyon, but to at least come check out the Fraser Valley and come try some of the climbs out here. And like I said, develop more of a community and try to get a little bit more traffic. Obviously, like, goal is not to make it a highly trafficked area, but just to get, you know, more people on the boulders, keep them clean, help maintain the trails, help promote climbing in the Fraser Valley. And yeah, it's really, I think, just trying to build a community and trying to get it out there. And the Fraser Canyon, I think, is something that has that power to maybe attract people out there. You know, like you watch a lot of climbing, and there's those places that you see on film, and you're like, well, that's a place I'd like to go. You know, it's not necessarily because it's the hardest climb. It's not necessarily because it's the best climb, because it's hard to tell really how the climb is from watching it, but it's a it's a beautiful place. You know, it's often what attracts you to those places, right? So
Absolutely.
so that's really why I think I wanted to make a film. We just have something that's really beautiful, wanted to share it with people, wanted to make it, you know, because even like close friends that climb all the time, like we'd be like, hey, come check it out, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll come and check it out, and like, you know, a year goes by and they still haven't come. You know, it's like you should really just come and check it out. And now that you have a film to show, it's like,
Now
oh,
you can send a hyperlink to somebody, be like, we should go here.
exactly, right. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe we should go there, you know. So so yeah, that's kind of how the idea came about. And then me and Jesse had talked about doing a sports film together, and kind of traded a bit of work with him and did some filming for events that he was doing. And I was like, let's do the film. Don't pay me, you know. So 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 yeah, that's kind of where the idea sprouted from.
Awesome. And the filmmaker, what's his name? I always like to try to give some credit to the person behind the camera, because I also exist in that space, and we can be so easily forgotten. We consume so much content these days that I don't know. A lot of us, I think, kind of forget that it's an art form and that there's someone actually shooting it, and there's a lot of time and work into that. So, yeah, what's his name, and kind of where can people find him?
Yeah, Jesse Wheeler. That's his name. He filmed everything, edited the whole thing, and yeah, he's the one that really put it out there. Jesse, you can find him on Instagram, J Wheeler Photo. He's pretty low key though, so so yeah, you can find him there, J Wheeler Photo. But otherwise, that's the only place you can find him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, it's good.
does some good work, and we have some ideas for more. So hopefully we'll get some more done.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So for somebody interested in visiting the Fraser Canyon, where can they find these routes? Are they on Mountain Project? Are they in a guidebook? Do you have plans for a guidebook? What is your vision for how people can come and visit this area?
Yeah, actually, like I wanted to make a guidebook first, but because there's so much development, it's like, you know, I kept thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, it's nice to have a printed copy, but as soon as I would put it out, it's outdated already because we've put up, you know, 50, 100 more climbs, you know, by the time it's like edited, published, and out in people's hand, you know, it's like it's outdated. So when Kaya came out, you know, they're doing mostly bouldering, but they're doing a lot more. They're starting to do more sport climbing as well on the app, and just thought that, you know, it was a well made app. Seemed very simple to work with. And when I first asked to maybe do the climbing guide for the Fraser Valley and the Fraser Canyon on the app, I think they were pretty busy. It was hard to get to get back to us. And then my buddy Nick, that's also in the film, ended up reaching out to them as well. And so we started to make the guidebook on Kaya. So it's not on Mountain Project. There's no printed copy. The only place to get access to, you know, the Fraser Canyon anyways is only on Kaya. Fraser Valley, there's a lot of material that's on Mountain Project, but that was also one of the reason to put it on Kaya, is just to have a, you know, yes, you have to pay for the app, but at the same time, you know, the only challenge with the access is the price point, I guess, versus like Mountain Project is free, but it still makes it a little bit harder for people to access the boulder and understand what they're climbing, where they're climbing, what the trails are, what the parking is, and, you know, all those things. So so Kaya is really nice to be able to update things really quickly, make them live, and be able to get you to, sorry, get you to the boulder that you're looking for. So So yeah, that's where it is now, is Kaya, Fraser Canyon, and Fraser Valley is also on there. So
Okay.
they're like,
Awesome.
if I don't know if you've ever used it, but they're like,
Never heard of it. No.
oh, okay. So it's like yeah, it's an app, and they're basically official guidebooks. So you can access the Squamish guidebook, so if they're sort of verified areas, then like basically myself and Nick monitor the area. So like if people add climbs or whatever, and we're like, oh no, that's not a climb, or actually this is not where that person said it was on the app, we can actually tie it to the boulder it's supposed to be attached to. So it kind of makes the whole thing less chaotic and more streamlined, and yeah, more like just verified that it's accurate information. So so me and Nick kind of monitor that area, and we're the guide otters.
The admins.
Yeah, exactly. So
how many routes are there now in the Fraser Canyon?
Fraser Canyon, I think 150 on the around 150 on the guidebook, but we haven't put Sawmill on there yet. So I want to say we'll be like probably 250 once that's on there. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's getting up there.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very cool project you're doing. I think that tapping into these new areas and being a steward of the land and of the sport, and kind of opening these areas not only for yourself but for the community is we need more people like you. So I appreciate the effort, and it's really cool to hear your story and everything. Where can people see the film if they're interested in watching?
So the film is on Kaya's YouTube channel, so Kaya Climbing. So if you search for Kaya Climbing, or if you search Gold Rush, the nuggets they left behind, that's where you can find it on YouTube.
It's all publicly available?
Yeah, it's all
cool. Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes so people can check it out.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll try to get the word out there and try to get some people. And if anyone wants to reach out and sort of get a tour, like anyone, if not myself, Alex, or Nick's moved out to a different area, so he's not available anymore, but it's pretty much I guess myself and Alex that kind of knows most of the canyon, and can guide people if they want to come out and get a more deeper sense of where they're climbing, and so sort of get the unknown notes of the secret spots and the secret climbs that we haven't put out there yet. So
yeah,
so they
awesome. Well, you heard him. Reach out to Dennis if you're interested in checking out the area and getting a first person's look.
Yep,
it's pretty rad.
Yeah,
it's pretty rad. It's quite the invitation. I'd take advantage of it if I was in the area.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you come up this side of the border, reach out anytime for sure.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks, dude. I appreciate your time, and I had a great time chatting with you. It's really cool to hear about this valley, and watching the flick was awesome. I was really astonished at how beautiful the area was, and how unique the rock formations were. I think that's what stood out to me the most. So I can definitely understand the passion you have for the area, and I wish you the best on the rest of the probably hundreds to thousands of routes you have before you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, and then we're pretty stoked to keep it going, and keep sharing it with people, and hopefully get some people out in the canyon.